This video kicks off our series called MeshCore QuickStart, where we show you all the basics you need to get started with MeshCore in a simple and easy to understand way to get you up and running quickly. Now, to get started with MeshCore, you need what's called a companion device. This will typically be a handheld LoRa radio like I have in front of me here. Now, these pair to your phone over Bluetooth, and then you use the MeshCore app to communicate with others over the network. Even though your phone's involved, no cell phone service is required, and all communication happens over the LoRa radio. For this video, we'll be covering some of the popular devices out there and what their differences are, so you can decide on what type you need for your situation. Luckily, these radio devices are inexpensive, and there's a number of different options out there that generally fit into two categories. And that'll be handheld units that pair to your phone, and handheld units that can be standalone without needing a phone paired to them. And these will typically have a keyboard and screen on them. There's also outdoor solar devices like this one that we have here that work great as repeaters. But since this video is focused on these companion devices, we'll be covering repeaters in another video. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Now, if you're on a budget and you live within line of sight of a repeater, you may be able to get away with just purchasing one of these companion devices and setting it on a windowsill on the side of your home facing the repeater's location. At my home here, for example, I can see the mountains where a repeater is located about 15 miles away, and I'm able to get a great signal to it from a unit just sitting on the windowsill here. Now, this works best when you have a clear view of wherever the repeater is located. If you live in a thick wooded area with trees blocking your view, or maybe you have a hill on your property blocking your signal, you may need to purchase a repeater in addition to your companion unit and place the repeater outside on your roof or the spot with the highest elevation on your property. And to those of you deploying a repeater, this is one of the reasons it's important to set a location when you configure it. I know some of you may not want to broadcast the location of your home or the repeater's location, and that's totally fine, but I suggest at least setting the location somewhere in the vicinity of it so others can know the general direction the repeater is from them, so they can better determine antenna placement. Now, if you have the budget for both a handheld companion unit and a solar repeater, I do highly recommend getting both, as every repeater that's deployed helps out the network. Now, how do you figure out where a repeater is located? The two current best options is the map on the MeshCore website and the map on the MeshCore Analyzer website. And we'll leave links to both of these in the video description below. Just be aware that the map on the MeshCore website depends on users manually adding their devices to it. So if you don't see anything in your area, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing near you. Now, the MeshCore Analyzer is my favorite option, and it's more of a live view, but it does depend on a user in your area running what's called a MeshCore Observer. So if you don't see anything in your area on that site, that also doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing near you. Sometimes you just need a device to get started and see if you pick anything up around you. But we'll get into how to do that in a video later on in this series. Now, let's take a look at some of the options out there, and we'll have affiliate links to all of these in the video description for you to check out. Now, there is one type of device I didn't mention earlier, and that's these bare board devices that are for the do-it-yourself types with 3D printers, or you like to build your own solar builds like we've done in the past for Meshtastic. Since this video is focused on beginners who just want something more ready to go out the box, we'll skip these for now. Also want to mention that there's two types of microcontrollers in these devices, NRF52 and ESP32. Most of my recommendations in this video are for devices with the NRF52 microcontroller. Now, these have much better battery life compared to ESP32 devices, and we're talking hours of battery life with ESP32 based devices compared to multiple days of battery life with NRF52 based devices. Now, let's first take a look at what are probably the most popular option out there, and that'll be these handheld units with screens. For that, we have units like the LILYGO T-Echo. Now, these have been around for quite a while now, and if you used Meshtastic in the earlier days, you may already have one of these laying around. A lot of the popular devices for Meshtastic also work for MeshCore, and it's just a matter of flashing the firmware to them. So if you already have a device, it's worth going to the MeshCore Flasher webpage and seeing if your device is one of the ones listed. Now, if you don't have a device already, you may want to skip the T-Echo since it's a bit older and there's some newer and better options out there, or maybe you can find one of these on the used market for a good deal. I just wanted to show an example of a device you may already have laying around that'll work with MeshCore. Now, if you like the form factor and e-ink screen of the T-Echo we just looked at, there's a newer similar device that I recommend called the ThinkNode M1. This device also has an e-ink screen which saves on battery power, along with a knob to turn the device on and off. There's also buttons on the side for navigating the device screens and a switch allowing you to turn the GPS on or off. This device also has a 1200 milliamp hour battery, which is an upgrade compared to the T-Echo, which only has a 850 milliamp hour battery. The next device is a favorite of mine called the WioTracker L1 Pro. Now, this one has a 3D printed case, which keeps the cost of the device down and makes this unit a great deal at just under $50. This device is printed with a nylon filament, which has a much better look and feel to it than most of the other 3D printed options on the market. This is one of the more budget-friendly ways to check out MeshCore that I recommend, and this is one that I use pretty often. This device has an even bigger battery than the previous two devices, coming in at 2000 milliamp hours, and I generally get 5 or more days of battery life depending on how much I use it. The final handheld unit with the screen we'll look at is the WisMesh Pocket. These have also been around a while, but are still a great device for MeshCore. It's a little bit bigger than the previous options, but this one also has the biggest battery out of all the handheld units with a 3200 milliamp hour battery, making this a great option for those who need more battery life and are looking to get about a week or more out of their handheld unit. These also come in multiple colors now, with white like I have here, as well as army green and black. Next, we'll take a look at a different type of device, and that's these thin card-style devices like we have here. And there's currently two options for these, and that's the SenseCap Card Tracker T1000E and the WisMesh Tag. These devices are the only ones we're covering in this video that have an IP waterproof rating, with the T1000E having an IP65 rating, and the WisMesh Tag having a bit better IP66 rating, making these devices great for the outdoors, especially if you're worried about potential inclement weather. Now, you'll notice that these devices don't have screens on them, and while having a screen is handy, it's not necessary at all, and most of what you'll do with MeshCore is from the phone with the app loaded onto it. Now, as you can see, the T1000 is a bit thinner and smaller than the WisMesh Tag, but that means it does have a bit of a smaller battery at 700 milliamp hour compared to the larger 1000 milliamp hour battery of the WisMesh Tag. They're both great options, but I generally lean more towards the WisMesh Tag as you get the bigger battery, and it's only about $10 more at the time of this video's creation. Now, for those of you who want a standalone device that doesn't require you to use a phone with it, we have this device here called the T-Deck Plus. And as you can see, it looks like a BlackBerry if you remember those from back in the day. Since this device has a screen and keyboard, you can easily view and send messages directly from the device itself. And recently, a new firmware called MeshOS was released for the T-Deck, which makes sending messages back and forth very usable on here, and I highly recommend using MeshOS if you decide to pick one of these up. And we'll cover flashing MeshOS to this device in a future video. Now, one downside to this device is it is quite a bit more of a power hog compared to the others. This one has a 2000 milliamp hour battery, but the ESP32 microcontroller it uses to enable it to run firmware like MeshOS uses much more battery. So you'll get about a day or so of use before having to charge this one. Now, there are, of course, many other devices out there that can be used with MeshCore. I just wanted to cover some of the popular ones that I've used and recommend. You can see the full list of supported devices by going to the MeshCore web flasher page at flasher.meshcore.co.uk and look through that list and see if your device is listed. That'll do it for this video though, and I hope you found it helpful. In the next video, we'll cover the different MeshCore firmware options and how to flash them to your devices. Before you go though, if you did find this video helpful, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, because we're just getting started with this MeshCore QuickStart series. We'll also have a link to the video playlist that you can share with others so they can follow along as well. Thank you all and have a good one.